it's funny, I didn't learn boundaries until I was born. I had my second son, and something wasn't right. I knew it. It was like I had my first kid, and I was normal. And the second one, I was like, something's off. And I went to the pediatrician, and I was talking to her, and she said, you know, it sounds like you have postpartum depression. And I hadn't heard that before. I didn't even really know what it was. And I remember like, and I remember my just tears streaming down my face as she said, have you ever had someone like acknowledge something when you're like, something isn't right? And I remember running to my car, and one of my friends' moms was a counselor, a Christian counselor in town. And she said, you need to call somebody because they're gonna need to walk you through this. And so I remember leaving a message on her, voice message when I was sitting in my car. And I knew if I didn't do it that moment, I wouldn't do it, because here I was a minister. Ministers don't get help. You know, we are help. And we don't, and I knew like something's off, but I don't go to a counselor. That's not really what we did back in the day. And so I remember leaving a message for her, and she called me back, and she said, I'll come in tomorrow. And I thought she was being nice. I didn't know there was a difference between postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, and they really want to see you quickly so you don't hurt your child. So I ran in, and yeah, they were like so I walked in, and she asked me some questions, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this. And she said, well, do you want to know what I think? And I said, yeah. And she said, well, out of the 14 different points of postpartum depression, you have 13 of them. Oh. And I remember just crying, and I said, well, what do you want me to do? Because I'm a leader. Leaders go, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to pray? What do you want me to? And she said, I want you to go home and get a couple nights sleep and then come back and see me. And so I did that, and I started to kind of walk through this, like, trying to get healthy. And about 6 months into my counseling, she said, do you want to know something? And I said, okay. And she said, I want to be honest with you. Are you sure? I said, okay. And she said, you would have been in here sooner, but the baby you would have been in here later, but the baby got you here sooner. Wow. And I wanted to punch her, because I was like, no, the baby got me in this room. It wasn't me. And she said, you have no ability to understand how to protect your own environment. You're a church kid, and church kids seem to be like in charge of everyone's experience of them and make sure everyone's happy with them. And so she said, if you'll spend a year and a half with me, I'll teach you what godly boundaries look like. And she said, but you have to be here every Friday. You're gonna sit with 5 women that are influential women in the city. You're not allowed to know each other's last names or what church you go to, but I'll sit and I'll teach you how to do this. Wow. And I sat for a year and a half, and I learned the power of a boundary. And boundary wasn't just having I don't wanna do it. A boundary was protecting what was most important to us. And you know what God holds us responsible for. So in my life, boundaries have been critical to walk me out of a depression, but also to keep me safe, to be on the road with my kids. So boundaries isn't just a word I like throw out.
No, well, so like what? What is one of your boundaries?
Things like this. Like, God holds us responsible for 3 things. I didn't know this. She's like, what is called our choices, our feelings, our attitudes. And that's our yard. And our yard has this little fence around us. And it's not a cement prison. It's a space that we have, that we nurture and monitor. And some people come around, and, you know, you have that crazy mother-in-law that's like, you shouldn't raise your kids like that. And she said, well, her yard is too close to yours. So you move her yard a little bit further out, and you begin to see that this yard is yours. And if your kids are under 18, they're in your yard. And so you get to help them their choices and their attitudes and their feelings. But things like this, how you choose to respond says everything about you, and how I choose to respond says everything about me. I did not understand that concept. It was, if you're mad at me, I'm responsible, and I will sit and talk to you until you're happy with me again. I didn't understand that. So I was exhausted trying to keep everybody okay with me. So things like that.
Wow.
Ooh, that
were really critical. So I had to start to learn, and then realizing that that my experience was my choice. You know, Cece, you said that before, like the power of choice. I think as a minister, and then a minister's kid, I didn't understand the power of choice. I felt very powerless to what was the right and wrong in my life, rather than what God had called me to be in the space that I was filling. And so I realized, like, the idea that, you know, you made me mad. No, I'm not that powerful. I'm not powerful enough to go inside of you and choose anger. You did that.
Right. Wow.
And things like that I had no concept for. I thought you made people mad. I thought you made people happy. I thought I was responsible for that. And once I started to realize I didn't hold any of that, that was like a mirage of power. Once I realized that what was happening internally, my choices, attitudes, and feelings were all in my world, things got manageable. When we have healthy space and boundaries, things get manageable. I can monitor that. I can do that well. I can't monitor your choices and your attitudes and your feelings because I have no power to go inside of there and make that choice. So that was critical for me. And to this day, I call it my yard. And I'll think to myself, is that in my yard or is that not? How you think about me right now, it's not in my yard. I am not powerful enough. If that hurt you, then you'll have to be powerful enough to come tell me.
Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe today and you'll never miss a new upload. Thanks for being a part of our Better Together community.